guys. Happy Wednesday. Go ahead and get out your math notebooks. Label it at the top. Today is January 27th. And today we're going to be talking about how to calculate the area of a rectangle. So let's talk about perimeter, because we have talked about perimeter in rectangles, and that means that we measure around the object. Okay, so we add up all of the sides. We figure out how much space is inside of that shape, going around. Okay, so now the teacher is asking, but how do you calculate the area? What does that mean? So vocab word in your math notebook, area. I want you to use your iPads and look it up. What does that mean? How do you find it? What's the formula? We use that word formula in math. Raise your hand and tell me, what is formula? What does that mean? Brooklyn?
The exact measurement of a surface, a piece of land.
Okay, who else can extend to that? Add to it. Mimi?
The area can be defined as space occupied by a flat sheet or the surface of an object.
So space occupied.
A region or a part of something.
A part of something. Raina? The area of a figure in square units. Very nice. Who found the formula for area? Max? Length times width. Very nice. Add that to your math notebook. Length times width equals area. This is what you should have in your math notebook. Length times width. Now when we're writing formulas in math, a lot of times we use initials. So we use an L to represent length and a W to represent width. And I'm going to multiply those two numbers. If you wanted after the equal sign, you could put A for area. When you multiply the length times width, that gives you the area. All right, so we record our area in square units. And you'll notice at the end, they have square feet here, okay? It would not be just feet as an answer, but squared feet, okay? Or if you're talking about inches, squared inches. If you're talking about units, like the little individual squares, it would be squared units. Instead of writing squared, you could write the little 2. What's that little 2 called? What is that? Max?
Exponent.
An exponent. Yeah, you could write a small 2 exponent in the corner. Either one is acceptable and correct. It's just going to be your preference if you want to write squared and then whatever measurement we're working with, or write our 2 exponent. Because we know that squared is another name for our little 2 exponent. All right, so squares are rectangles. And we're going to be talking about our shapes here coming up, more detailed. But just briefly, we need to know about squares and rectangles because that's all we're going to be finding the area of today is squares and rectangles. So all squares are rectangles, and a rectangle is defined as a shape that has 4 90-degree angles. But not all rectangles are squares. Some rectangles might have 2 sides longer or shorter than the other. Squares have all equal sides. So, to find the area of this square, they only gave me 1 number. In our formula, we had 2, a length and a width. How am I going to find this with only 1 number given? Mason?
Multiply how many sides there is, so 5 times 4.
No. He says to multiply by how many sides there are. You're on the right track. We're thinking about your sides. Malia?
You do 5 times 5 because the square is like all the same. You do the length times width.
5 times 5. Yeah, I'm doing the length times width. Even though they didn't give me this measurement right here, I know because it's a square that this side right here is also 5. So 5 times 5 would give me the area there. Very nice. All right, just some things to remember. Different formulas for calculating different shapes. Okay, so you wouldn't calculate the area of a triangle using length times width. We will find the area of a triangle, but not yet. Okay, we are only working with area of rectangles and squares. That's all that's going to apply here. Let's take a look. I've saved something for you on Schoology. So head to Schoology. And I posted this for you to take a look at and save to help you while you're doing your homework. And it's just kind of a help sheet for area. And it actually puts perimeter on here too. And I like that so you can see the difference. So they have this rectangle here. Area is everything inside. So that's why they wrote the word area inside the rectangle. And perimeter, they wrote along the outside because that's what the perimeter is, the outside of the shape. Okay? They put our formula for perimeter, which we have used before. And then we have our formula for area with a nice example. They have an example of 5 units and 3 units. So my length times width, 5 times 3 to give me 15 square units, or 15 units with our little 2 exponent squared. Okay, so I would definitely save this on your iPad as a nice help sheet. Lights, please. Let's do some examples together. All right, number 1. Anything I have on the board, you put in your math notebook. A length of 8. With a 4. We are not in art class, so you can just do the best rectangle you can. It doesn't have to be straight. We're not going to actually measure it. This distance is not actually 8 centimeters. All right, so what is my formula for finding area? Area equals length times width. Very nice. So here, I want us to plug in our numbers. What's my length?
8.
4 centimeters.
And what's my width?
4 centimeters.
What is 8 times 4?
32.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, you are not going to get it correct unless you have a proper label. What is my measurements I'm working with?
Centimeters.
Centimeters. Am I done?
No.
No, I need to put a little,
2.
my little 2 exponent, centimeters squared. If you prefer, you could have this, 32 squared centimeters. There are abbreviated squares and centimeters. If you want to write out squared, you can. It's just more time, but totally up to you. All 3 would get you the correct answer, okay? All right, number 2. We're gonna step it up because I know this is pretty easy, huh?
No, it's so hard.
It's so hard, yeah.
Mrs. Bush.
I just want to step it up a little bit and give you guys some fractions.
Oh,
So let's do. Dun, 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 dun. All right, I threw in a fraction there.
Oh.
Is that a 1 or 1, 2?
4 and 1/2
And 2.
and 2. And we're working with inches. What is going to be my equation?
4 is your
Length. And then 2 inches is your width.
Very nice. How do I solve this problem? Everybody?
Put it over. Put a 1 under it.
Very nice. Now over here, I have a mixed number with this fraction. This is a little advanced. I would make this mixed number into an improper fraction. How do I make this mixed number into an improper fraction, Sophia?
4 times 2.
4 times 2 and then
Plus 1.
plus 1, which is,
9.
and my denominator stays the,
Same.
ooh, my handwriting there is messy. All right, so now I need to multiply what direction?
Across. Diagonal.
Yeah, mine's a little diagonal right now. What's 9 times 2?
18.
What's 2 times 1?
2.
Am I done?
No.
Let's simplify. How do I simplify this, Bradley?
You have to divide 18 by 2.
Which is?
9.
Am I done?
No.
I need a...
Inches. Label.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not going to keep writing out the labels different ways. I always do the 2 exponent. Inches squared, and that's how I write it. If you prefer one of the other ways I showed you, feel free. Justice?
So, like, in the label, you have, like, a period or whatever.
I used a period because I abbreviated inches. If you're going to abbreviate inches, you need that period. If you want to write the word out, inches, I-N-C-H-E-S, then you would not need that period. Okay? So good question. So she asked, how come I have a period?
I was gonna
In mind.
ask if it was, like, gonna get you wrong if you don't add.
It will be wrong if you don't have it. Yep. You have to write it appropriately. The correct way. All right, number 3. Let's do... And ladies and gentlemen, again, this is not art class. But we're going to be working with units on this one. Okay, so units, each of these little squares is a unit. And to abbreviate units, you can just write a U. And it gets no period. That's just the proper way. Some get periods, some don't. There's no trick to it. It's just memorizing it. So 1/4 unit and 1/2 unit. What is going to be my area? Mimi, how do I find my area here?
So you put A, and then your length is 1/4 U, and then your width is.
I'd go 1/2 times 1/4. Very nice. And how do I multiply these fractions? I just multiply across. Very nice. So what's 1 times 1?
1.
What's
8.
2 times 4?
8.
Am I done?
No.
I need a,
Abbreviation.
not abbreviation, but a
Label.
label. Units squared. Done. Ladies and gentlemen, let's watch a video. Lights, please.
Hi, welcome to Math Antics. In our last geometry video, we learned that all two-dimensional shapes have a one-dimensional quantity called perimeter,
We'll talk about shapes
which is
later on.
basically the outline of the shape. In this video, we're going to learn that these shapes also have a two-dimensional quantity called area. To help you understand what area is, let's start by imagining a line that's 1 centimeter long. Now, let's imagine moving that line in a perpendicular direction, a distance of 1 centimeter. But while we move it, it leaves a trail, almost like the end of a paintbrush. By moving the one-dimensional line that way, we formed a two-dimensional shape. And all of the space or surface that we covered along the way is the area of that shape, which, as you can see here, is just a square. Okay, but how much area does this square have? Well, our original line was 1 centimeter long, and we moved it a distance of 1 centimeter, so we could say that this shape is a square centimeter. Just like a centimeter is a basic unit for measuring length, a square centimeter is a basic unit for measuring area. But there's other units for area too. For example, instead of a centimeter, what if our line had been a meter long? And what if we had moved it 1 meter? The area we'd have gotten would be 1 square meter. Or what if our line was a mile long and we moved it a mile? We'd have a square mile of area. So just like with perimeter, the units of measurement are very important when we're talking about area. All right, so that gives you a good idea of what area is. But how do we calculate area mathematically? Well, there's some special math formulas or equations that we can use to find the area of different shapes. In this video, we're going to learn the formula for squares and rectangles and the formula for triangles. To find the area of any square or rectangle, all we have to do is multiply its two side dimensions together. They're usually called the length and the width. So the formula looks like this. Area equals length times width. But it's often written with just the first letters of each word as abbreviations. A for area, L for length, and W for width. So let's see if that formula works for our original square centimeter. If we multiply the length, 1 centimeter, times the width, 1 centimeter, what do we get? Well, 1 times 1 is just 1. But what about centimeter times centimeter? Centimeter times centimeter just gives us square centimeters, which we can write like this using a 2 as an exponent. We read this as centimeters squared, and it's just a shorter way of writing centimeter times centimeter. So whenever you see units like centimeters squared, or inches squared, or meters squared, or miles squared, you know it's a measurement of the two-dimensional quantity area. Okay, our formula, area equals length times width, worked for our square. Now let's see if it works for a rectangle. Here's a rectangle that's 4 centimeters wide and 2 centimeters long, or tall. First, we plug the length and width into our formula, 2 centimeters and 4 centimeters. Then we just multiply. 2 times 4 equals 8, and centimeter times centimeter is centimeter squared. So according to our formula, the area of this rectangle is 8 centimeters squared. And we can see that's correct if we bring back our original square centimeter. If we make copies of it, you can see that exactly 8 of those square centimeters would be the same area as this rectangle. Great. Let's try our formula on one more rectangle. This rectangle is 2 centimeters long, but only half a centimeter wide. And our formula, area equals length times width, tells us that we just need to multiply these two sides together to get our area. 2 times 1/2 equals 1. So this rectangle is also 1 square centimeter. How could that be a square centimeter? It's not even a square. But just because a shape takes up 1 square centimeter of area, that doesn't mean it has to be a square shape. It just means that the total area would be equal or the same as a square centimeter. You can see that if we break up the rectangle in half and rearrange it, then it would form a square. In fact, we can use square units, like square centimeters, to measure any area, no matter what the shape is. It could be a rectangle, a triangle, a circle, or any other two-dimensional shape. Okay, now that you know how to find the area of any square or rectangle using our formula, we're going to learn the formula for finding the area of any triangle.
We are going to learn that formula, but not today. Lights, please, Malia. Ladies and gentlemen, your homework for tonight is finding the area of rectangles and squares only. Length times width. And you have an assignment on I Know It Math practicing this. Okay, there are 12 problems. Before you do your I Know It Math, you guys have a short quiz to do over our multiplying our fractions that we've worked on so far. All right? Does anybody have any questions for your math? Malia?
Are we gonna learn like when we take the shape and like split it?
We'll work with like rearranging shapes, and we'll show kind of shapes mirrored and things later on. Yeah, we get into our 3D shapes. We'll practice those.
Will there ever be like shapes with decimals in them?
Will there ever be shapes with decimals? Yeah, some of your measurements. He worked with fractions and whole numbers. You guys might have decimals where you would have to multiply 2 decimals instead. Most certainly. All right, go ahead and get started.